Hi everyone, my name's Pieta Valentine. I've written 2 books, The Resident's Voice from a Dementia Unit and The Resident's Rise from a Dementia Unit. So today's session is on residents' enthusiastic leadership, and the last video was on residents' enthusiastic participation. So these 2 videos are a set. So if you have time to look at the other, great. So residents' leadership enthusiastic leadership, sorry. Okay, now enthusiasm is such a precious resource in a dementia facility, of course. It's, it's all of, energy of any kind, but enthusiasm especially because it's so positive and enthusiastic. And if everyone or, a large number of people in a dementia facility are depressed and anxious and angry, especially enthusiasm especially helps those that are depressed, it just lifts their spirits and, they can just lift right up just with having a friend that's enthusiastic. So anyway, enthusiastic leadership, I've got an example of that. There was one resident at the unit I worked at. He was a remarkable man. I've never actually met anyone quite so insightful, especially someone that has dementia. Well, I have actually met one or two others, but he was exceptional in his own way, because when he first came in, he was really chronically depressed. He was so stressed out, depressed, anxious, not angry, because he was actually a real gentleman, but he, inwardly, total turmoil. And he just didn't want to live. He didn't want to be there. He didn't, everything about it, just, he couldn't bear it. Anyway, his partner was very supportive, incredible. She would come in regularly, take him out for walks because he was still fit and strong. He was only, late 70s, I think. She would take him out for walks. She'd be in regularly. She did lots of activities with him. She was a generous, kind person, and they had a good relationship. Anyway, he came to the realization that he was going to be there permanently. Oh, tragic, isn't it? Like when they come to that realization, this is where they, are going to be living for the rest of their life. I mean, initially, of course, they deny it, don't they? Of course you do when you're younger. Oh, God, I'm not going to be here. This is temporary, isn't it? Surely. I'm here because I'm unwell, or I'm here because my sleeping's not, the pattern of my sleeping's out of kilter, or I'm here to balance my medication, or I'm here for any other reason other than being here for life. Oh. Anyway, that's such a bitter realization to have, but he actually did realize that he had to be here, that he was to be here, ongoingly. And he was remarkable. What he chose to do was turn the situation around to work for him. So initially, he became quite quiet and withdrawn, and you could see him thinking, he'd be quiet, he'd walk, think, observe, walk, think, observe. He didn't speak much at that point. He'd been a detective in his working life. So observation was one of his key strengths, and you could see him observing keenly everyone at the unit, and he was starting to reassess his whole framework, his whole life framework. Anyway, he started to participate more in the workshops, in the discussions. He wasn't so keen on all the Netflix and stuff. I mean, the odd karaoke song he'd join in with. He was a good singer. He had a powerful voice. But the workshops he liked. He liked the discussion, the engagement. He liked to see other people come out of themselves and start to communicate, especially. And he was very encouraging of the women. I mean, he was quite dashing. And so the women all liked him. And, he was happy with that, but he didn't like them sort of, being overly attentive, but he was very pleasant and nice generally to everyone. But actually, his confidence started picking up, and he started to speak out a bit for the group. He was like, the voice of the group, so to speak. Whereas the other leader of the group, the lady, the teacher, the former teacher who I was describing in the last video of residence enthusiasm, and this one being residence enthusiastic leadership, she was actually the leader of the group before he came along, because she was just so quick and bright and alert and a good reader and a good communicator and spoke well, albeit poor memory, poor direction orientation. But he had a bit of aphasia, so every now and then he'd get tongue-tied and he couldn't speak the words that he wished to say. You know, you could see he was thinking them, but especially when he felt stressed or, you know, his confidence was lower. But anyway, he came to the group and he started to participate more, and the women were really supportive. And if he wasn't quite, if he got a bit stuck, I'd just say, oh, look, do you mean ... And if it was correct, he'd say yes. If I was off track, I'd try again and again until I got what he was trying to say. I mean, I knew him well, and I had an inkling, quite a good idea in terms of the context of his prior conversation, what he was trying to say, and generally got it. And that way, we'd work together. Anyway, the school teacher wasn't impressed with this, because she was quite, you know, she'd come from a wealthy family, which she was always telling everyone about that, and aristocratic manner, as many in Christchurch are, from the rich suburbs, you know, Fendleton, etc. And she didn't have any patience for him initially, you know. So that was a bit of a thorn in the side of the group. But actually, in time, she warmed to him, you know, and actually he relaxed more. And as he got more confidence, his speech improved, which also helped. And so she started to accept him, interestingly, to the point that she actually even allowed him to be the voice of the group, which she had been prior. So that competitive edge, she sort of allowed him to go ahead that one step, even ahead of her at times. I mean, she was still the general voice of the group in day-to-day discussions. But when it came to, you know, a central voice for a powerful theme, like, he would stand up and he'd say to the group, look, you know, we have knowledge, we have thinking capacity, we have the ability to rise up. And, you know, we've got all this knowledge here amidst the group, all this wisdom, all this strength, and others should know about it. It needs to be known, it needs to be heard, and our voice needs to get out there somehow. And he was able to articulate that very well. And of course it inspired the group, and of course they had a lot of wisdom to give, you know. I mean, everyone of that age, 90 years plus, many of them, 30 people, 90 years old, I don't know, hundreds and thousands of years of experience, I think it is. Anyway, you know, they've got huge wisdom to offer. So he was really, you know, proactive and sort of counting this as an important asset of the group. And because of all this work he was doing with this group, the positive feedback he got from them, I mean, if people were sick, he would help them. If they were upset, he'd sit by them. You know, if he saw that anyone was, you know, on the rim of the group and isolated, he'd bring them into the group, he'd befriend them. He was remarkable, very proactive, you know, policeman stance, you know, the good community policeman who goes around helping all the needy. That was him. Plus he had a powerful voice and a powerful presence with it. So him plus the school teacher, with him and the school teacher, the group rose remarkably, you know. All that enthusiasm and interest and energy and commitment from them, you know, and what they gave to the group. It was just remarkable. And the key core thing was interest and enthusiasm. It's such a generating energy. So that's about leadership and enthusiasm amidst the residents, and examples of that, and it can be done. So positive, practical enthusiasm. So time's up. Thank you for your likes, subscriptions, and interest. Thank you.